A very good morning, just past 8 by the clock. We're back again with another edition of Breakfast News. This is your one-stop show, your first comprehensive 60 minutes of power-packed bulletin where we get you all the latest from the field of politics, business, sports, entertainment. I'm Anil Thomas to take you through the next 1 hour. My co-anchor this morning is Shreya. Good morning, Shreya.
Good morning, Anil. And first of all, happy Constitution Day to all of you out there. We are celebrating the adoption of our Constitution on 26 November 1949, and this is the day when all the hard work and dedication of all the members of the Constituent Assembly came into place. We're going to get you updates on that, and of course we're also keeping a close watch on the weather situation down south. Remember, the Met Department has forecast heavy rainfall down south in Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala and Lakshadweep. All of this and much more from India and across the world, but first the headlines.
President Ramnath Kovind to lead the nation in celebrating the Constitution Day today. Vice President, Lok Sabha Speaker, Prime Minister and others will be present on the occasion. Prime Minister Modi says the day is to remember the exceptional efforts of those greats who made our Constitution.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to chair the 18th meeting of the Foreign Ministers of Russia, India, China, likely to discuss further strengthening of the trilateral cooperation, including exchange of views on various regional and international issues of importance.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 120 crore milestone. Centre directs states to ensure rigorous screening, testing of international travellers from South Africa, Hong Kong, Botswana due to new COVID variant.
Strong earthquake of magnitude 6.1 strikes Myanmar-India border in the wee hours today. Tremors were felt in West Bengal, Tripura and Assam. No immediate reports of any damage.
National Milk Day being celebrated to commemorate the birth anniversary of Dr. Verghese Kurian, the milkman of India. Union Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairying to confer the National Gopal Ratna Awards at the occasion.
United Kingdom registers the highest number of COVID-19 cases in Europe, suspends flights to 6 African countries as the new COVID variant emerges.
Siberian coal mine fire kills 52 miners, rescuers, dozens missing, rescue operations underway.
Sports news. In Junior Hockey World Cup, the defending champion India registers the first victory against Canada with a margin of 13-1. India's Sanjay and Arijit Singh smash hat-trick in the tournament. India next to lock horns with Poland tomorrow. All right, let's begin with our top focus of the day, which is Constitution Day.
Well, the nation is celebrating Constitution Day today to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India by the Constituent Assembly in 1949. The observation of Constitution Day started in 2015 based on the vision of Prime Minister to give due recognition to the significance of this historic date. The roots of the vision can be traced back to the Samvidhan Gaurav Yatra organized by the then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi in 2010. As a part of the Constitution Day celebrations this year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the programs being organized in Parliament and Vigyan Bhavan. The program to be organized in Parliament will be addressed by the President, Vice President, Prime Minister and Lok Sabha Speaker. After the speech of the President, the nation will join him live in reading the preamble of the Constitution. The President will also release the digital version of Constituent Assembly debates, digital version of calligraph copy of Constitution of India, and an updated version of the Constitution of India that will include all amendments till date. He will also inaugurate online quiz on constitutional democracy. Later in the day, Prime Minister will inaugurate the two-day Constitution Day celebrations organized by the Supreme Court at Vigyan Bhavan in the national capital. All judges of the Supreme Court, Chief Justices of all High Courts and senior-most judges, Solicitor General of India and other members of the legal fraternity will be present on the occasion. Prime Minister will also address the distinguished gathering.
All right. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, for more on this story, we've got Arun joining us this morning to give us the insight into the Constitution Day. Arun, this particular day's celebration started in 2015. How's been the journey when one looks at it over the last 6 years?
Well, the journey has been significant, and we know this fact that how can the generation next, or the next generation, or Generation Z, or the youngsters primarily can know the significance of Constitution. So that is the basic idea of celebrating the Constitution Day. That's number one. Now, we can be very much proud of our Constitution because India's Constitution is one of the longest handwritten Constitution all across the world. I mean, no other written document does exist as the Indian Constitution is. And as of now, in the Parliament Library, this handwritten document of close to 1.5 lakh words is saved there in a helium cases primarily in the Library of the Parliament. And now today, President Ram Nath Kovind will of course be unveiling the digital copies of this calligraphed version or the handwritten version primarily of this Constitution. The idea is that how can youngsters of today can learn from the Constitution, because India's Constitution says that Indian democracy, or primarily India, is a democratic, socialistic, secular, and of course a democratic country. And of course, we have three important components when we talk about the Constitution: the legislatives, the executives, and the judiciary. Now, all these three work in tandem primarily. All these three work so that equality and of course, equality can be served, justice can be done to the people of our country. So whenever legislatives do draft any kind of policies, whenever legislatives come out with any kind of policy that is being implemented, the idea, the soul behind that policy, the initiative, the scheme is that how can that scheme can be equal in nature. The scheme, the policies do not distinguish between people in our country. It has to be democratic in nature. And that's the beauty of Indian Constitution, completely democratic, socialistic, secular in nature. And also for the fact that today, President Ram Nath Kovind will also be, launching this initiative whereby, yes, digital copies will be launched. Indian Constitution translated or the digital copy will also be available in 23 languages primarily. Regional languages that includes Assamese, Gujarati, Marathi. So primarily all the Indian languages will be covered. The preamble of Constitution will be read by the President Ram Nath Kovind. Early in the morning, I just received an SMS from the MyGov which says that join President Ram Nath Kovind in reading the Constitution or the preamble of Constitution. And of course, I'll be joining that as well. And of course, you can also download the digital copy at how you have contributed in enriching the Constitution, how you have contributed, as far as the Constitution of the country is concerned, by abiding by the laws, rules, and the things written in the Constitution. So yes, you can also download the digital copy by signing up the page, and of course you can also download your copy of reading the preamble of the Constitution. So yes, indeed a significant day as far as the Constitution Day is concerned.
Arun, good morning. Shreya here. First of all, happy Constitution Day to you. When we talk about the Constitution, it is one book that binds the whole nation together, and a nation as diverse as India, where we value and honor all sorts of religions, communities, people. But when, we talk about the Constitution, most of us only talk about the rights. We forget our duties. And by duties, I don't mean, something very big that we are talking about. Small things that we do in our daily lives in becoming responsible citizens. I think we forget that, whether we pay our taxes and pay them on time, or we don't litter on the streets, or anything of that sorts. That comes first before, talking and fighting for our rights. Of course, that is also important, but our duties for the nation come first, isn't it?
Absolutely, Shreya. In Hindi, we say that path anek, lakshya ek, rang anek, tiranga ek, rajya anek, Bharat ek. India is one. Integrity is something. We are binded by something that is known as our duties. Constitution binds us. This is the beauty of our constitution, that there may be various states, there may be different colors, but the national flag is one. There can be different states, but yes, country is one. And of course, the constitutional duties, our duty are also important as a citizen of our country. This includes various aspects as to how to perform our duties to make this nation stronger. And that's the idea of the legislatives of our country, the executives of our country, the judiciary of our country, that how as a nation, every citizen can come together in making the new India. So that's what the idea is. Even when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, at that time, he started various initiatives that ensures that the youngsters of his state at that point in time, Gujarat, can know more about the constitutional rights and of course the duty as well. Because even Prime Minister Narendra Modi on various occasions of the Constitution Day has mentioned this point that yes, when it comes to right, we're the first to raise our voices that where are our rights. But when performing the duties, we are not at the forefront. So yes, indeed, the Constitution Day also gives a message to the youngsters, the generation next of our country, that yes, as far as performing the duties, we should be at forefront, be it initiatives like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or be it various other initiative that ensures or that primarily binds the country together in making the nation strong, in making the country first, or primarily having that nationalist feeling, or ensuring that how can nation as a whole can prosper, on the path of development. So in that context, yes, the Constitution Day and celebration of Constitution Day is going to be very much significant. This initiative was started in 2015. This primarily was the idea of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to ensure that youngsters can learn from the Constitution. Yes, India's Constitution ensures that India is a sovereign, democratic, socialistic, secular country. So on the other side, we need to understand how can equality be there, and that's the reason judiciary, legislative, and the executives are coming together to ensure that how can a better country can be built, but citizens have also got their role to play.
Okay, one final word before I let you go, Arun. There is also an online quiz with regards to the constitutional democracy. Who all can take part in it? Is it open for all? Even school kids, they are at home. Can they be part and parcel of this particular online quiz that's been organized?
Well, I've already logged in on that page. I'm going to participating after 11 o'clock today. So everybody can participate in that quiz. That primarily ensures that you know more about the Constitution, that how it was written, how many debates were held, what sort of thinking went behind Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and the Constituent Assembly at that point in time, that what needs to be ensured, how researches were conducted, how various social parameters were, taken into consideration. So all these things are there in the quiz contest. So number one, yes, you can also read the Constitution, preamble of the Constitution in various or close to 23 different languages. You can download the digital certificate as well that you have participated in this event. And of course, you can also join and log in on this web page of the MyGov, whereby you can, of course, participate in this digital quiz contest that will enrich your knowledge about the Constitution and will also ensure that you know more about the Constitution and how can you build nation going forward, and of course can build a new India primarily.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, giving us insight into the significance of the day. And more than our rights, we also need to be responsible with regards to our duties towards the Constitution. So clearly an important day in history, an important day that's been revived, and an important day for every one of us to celebrate.
Absolutely, and I think our day is set, Anil. We're going to take part in that quiz and of course join the President in reading the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Alright, now India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles that the modern world has ever witnessed. In this edition of Saga of Freedom, we are celebrating Constitution Day too.
We, the people of India.
Today is Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas, which is celebrated in our country on the 26th of November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India on this day in 1949.
On 26 November 1949, The Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India, which came into effect from 26th of January 1950. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment on 19th of November 2015 notified the decision of the Government of India to celebrate the 26th day of November every year as Constitution Day to promote Constitution values among citizens.
स्वतंत्रता को बल देता है, समता न्याय का ढल देता है, जिसकी बदौलत भारत देश को मिला यहाँ सम्मान है, भारत का संविधान है.
The Constitution of India was framed by the Constituent Assembly, set up under the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. The Assembly held its first meeting on the 9th of December 1946 and elected Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, the oldest member of the Assembly, as the Provisional President. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru called upon the members to take the pledge of dedication.
At this solemn moment, when the people of India, through suffering and sacrifice, have secured freedom, I, a member of the Constituent Assembly of India, do dedicate myself in all humility to the service of India and her people, to the end that this ancient land retain her rightful place in the world and make her full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind.
On December the 11th, 1946, the Assembly elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as its permanent chairman. Highlighting the role of the Constituent Assembly in an infant nation, Dr. Rajendra Prasad said,
मैं ये भी मानता हूँ कि इस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली को पूरा अख्तियार, मुकम्मल अख्तियार इस बात का है कि वो अपनी कार्रवाई जिस तरह से चाहे करे, इसके अंदर वो जो कुछ करना चाहे करे, और इसमें किसी भी बाहर की ताकत को अख्तियार नहीं है कि इसकी कार्रवाइयों में वो कुछ भी हस्तक्षेप या दस्तंदाजी कर सके.
Members of the Constituent Assembly represented the different ideologies and diverse culture of our great nation. The Constituent Assembly set up 13 committees for framing the Constitution. The drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was charged with the Herculean task of preparing the draft constitution. He said,
"Let us leave aside slogans. Let us leave aside words which frighten people. Let us even make concession to the prejudices of our opponents. Bring them in so that they may willingly join with us on marching upon that road, which, as I said, if we walk long enough, must necessarily lead us to unity."
Despite the diverse opinions, the Constituent Assembly solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic.
Having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure citizens justice, social, economic and political.
The Constitution of India is the longest written constitution in the world, containing 395 articles, 22 parts and 12 schedules. The sections on fundamental rights and fundamental duties in the Constitution of India lay down a foundation for the appropriate behavior and conduct of citizens. The directive principles guide that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all the institutions of the national life.
Burn your God, expression and belief, faith and worship, quality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual.
People of India are the ultimate custodians of the Constitution. It is in them that sovereignty vests, and it is in their name that the Constitution was adopted. The Constitution empowers the citizen, but the citizen too empowers the Constitution by following it, by protecting it, and by preserving it to make it more meaningful with words and deeds.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will hold talks together in a virtual format today with a focus on key regional and global issues. The 18th meeting, being held under the Russia-India-China trilateral framework, will be chaired by Dr. Jaishankar. The foreign ministers are expected to discuss further strengthening of the trilateral cooperation, including exchange of views on various regional and international issues of importance, including the situation in Afghanistan. Under the RIC framework, the foreign ministers of the three countries meet periodically to discuss bilateral, regional and international issues of their interest. India took over the chairmanship of the RIC after the last meeting of the trilateral in Moscow in September last year.
Well, shifting focus down south, heavy rainfall lashed the southern districts of Tamil Nadu yesterday, causing waterlogging in many places. Now, incessant rains, extremely heavy at times too, led to the flooding of the famous Subramania Swami temple in Tiruchendur in Thoothukudi district, while the waterfalls at Kottalam in Tenkasi have been closed for tourists. Flights to Thoothukudi airport have been diverted in the wake of the downpour. Waterlogging was also reported in several parts of Madurai after incessant showers. IMD has issued a red alert for Thoothukudi, Tirunelveli, Tenkasi, Nagapattinam and Pudukottai districts, prompting 15 districts to declare a holiday for schools and colleges for today. The IMD says thunderstorms with heavy to extremely heavy rainfall is likely to occur at isolated places over Tirunelveli, Thoothukudi and Tenkasi districts, and heavy rainfall is also likely to occur at isolated places in Kanyakumari in the next 24 hours. Moderate rains are also expected in the coastal and delta areas of Tamil Nadu in the next 24 hours.
Well, moving to Andhra Pradesh, where residents of the temple city of Tirupati of Andhra Pradesh struggle to travel along the low-lying colonies in the city, which were once again waterlogged due to a brief spell of rains on Thursday evening. Normalcy is yet to be restored in this world-renowned city of temples, which is being pounded by back-to-back rains during the last 1 month. While rainwaters in several colonies were receding after a brief respite from the showers during the last 1 week, after the city received very heavy rains on November 18th and 19th. Fresh rains on Thursday evening added to the woes of the locals of the city, who have almost remained indoors for the last 1 week. Anxiety and grief has gripped the city as severe rains are predicted for the city during the last week of this month.
Now, the IMD has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall, with extremely heavy rainfalls very likely at isolated places over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal. Heavy rainfall at isolated places over south coastal Andhra Pradesh, Rayalaseema and Kerala and Mahe till 29th of November are also predicted. Thunderstorm accompanied with lightning is also very likely at isolated places over coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam, Rayalaseema, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal, Lakshadweep and Kerala, as well as Mahe till the 29th of November. Fishermen are advised not to venture into the sea.
Well, a strong magnitude earthquake of 6.1 hit Mizoram in the wee hours today, with tremors being felt throughout the state. The epicenter was 19 kilometers far from Mizoram border village Sangao, which is located at Halka in Myanmar. Panic-stricken people ran out of their houses as the quake struck the state for about 6 seconds. However, there is no report of casualties or damage to properties. More than 150 quakes were experienced in the eastern part of Mizoram last year, due to which the most severe one, 5.6 magnitude, struck Wabang village and its adjoining areas called Tuipuril area in eastern part of Mizoram on the 22nd of June last year, wherein damage to properties, landslides and crack in the grounds were seen and identified.
And keeping with news from Northeast, in a step forward to resolve past boundary dispute between Assam and Mizoram, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma and Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga met for dinner on Thursday at the Assam House in New Delhi. Earlier, the Assam Chief Minister had invited Mizoram Chief Minister for dinner, which the latter had graciously accepted. Now, the Mizoram CM Zoramthanga later tweeted that the two leaders discussed developmental topics for the welfare of the Northeast. Assam Minister for Agriculture Atul Bora had also joined in. The two leaders are expected to meet Home Minister Amit Shah on Friday, that's today. The Ministry of Home Affairs has been at the forefront to ensure cooperation among states and to diffuse conflicts, if any.
Well, in wake of the transmission of the highly mutated COVID-19 variant in Botswana, South Africa and Hong Kong, the centre has asked states strictly to screen and test travellers rigorously arriving from these countries as the international travel continues to ease. Rajesh Bhushan, the Union Health Secretary, in a letter written to the additional Chief Secretaries, Principal Secretaries and Secretary Health of all states and Union Territories, said that the National Centre for Disease Control has informed that multiple cases of a COVID-19 variant 8.1.1529 has been reported in these three countries. 3 cases of new COVID variant have been reported from Botswana, 6 cases from South Africa and 1 case from Hong Kong. The Health Secretary said that the variant is reported to have a significantly high number of mutations and thus has serious public implications for the country in view of the recently relaxed visa restrictions and opening up of international travel. He added that it is therefore imperative that all international travelers travelling from and transiting through these countries and also including all others at risk countries are subjected to rigorous screening and testing. He added that the contacts of these international travelers must also be closely tracked and tested as per the Union Health Ministry guidelines. States are also requested to ensure that the samples of travelers turning positive are sent to the designated IGSLs promptly as per the INSACOG guidance document issued by the ministry. The aim of this activity is tracking and monitoring emergence and transmission of COVID-19 VOCs in the country.
Now, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed the 120 crore landmark milestone. 120 crore 17 lakh 25,296 vaccine doses have been administered so far, while over 74.59 lakh vaccine doses have been administered yesterday. The vaccination exercise as a tool to protect the most vulnerable population groups in the country from COVID-19 continues to be regularly reviewed and monitored at the highest level.
Well, in view of the declining COVID-19 cases in the state of Haryana, all government and private schools will reopen with full capacity from the 1st of December. The decision to this effect was taken at a cabinet meeting chaired by the Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar on Thursday evening. Education Minister Kanwar Pal said that compliance of the COVID-19 protocol will continue in schools as earlier.
Meanwhile, all private and government schools in Gurgaon reopened today after being shut down earlier this month over rising levels of air pollution in the national capital region. Announcing this, Deputy Commissioner of Gurgaon, Dr. Yash Garg, said that classes will be held in schools and educational institutions as usual from today following all COVID protocols. Schools in 4 Haryana districts close to the national capital were initially shut till the 17th of November. And in view of the toxic smog and bad air quality in Delhi, all government and private schools were ordered to remain shut in the adjoining districts of the national capital territory of Delhi. Now, besides shutting down schools, the construction activities, stubble burning, burning of trash by municipal bodies were banned in Haryana's Gurugram, Faridabad, Sonipat and Jhajjar districts.
Well, the first meeting of the India-UK Joint Working Group on Cyber Deterrence was held on Thursday in virtual mode. Both sides discussed various key aspects related to cyber deterrence and a way to further deepen the existing bilateral cyber cooperation under the India-UK framework for the cyber relationship signed on the 17th of April in 2018 in New Delhi. India and the UK agreed to work closely with each other and hold regular consultations on addressing the challenges to cyber deterrence and for building effective cyber deterrence strategies. The meeting was attended by senior cyber officials from the respective ministries and departments from both the countries.
Now, in other news, the 19th Maritime Search and Rescue Board meeting was held in Delhi on Thursday, in which guidelines were formulated under the National Search and Rescue Plan. Search and Rescue Awards for the year 2019-20 and 2020-21 were conferred to winners under different categories. Secretary Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways and Secretary Department of Fisheries participated with 31 other agencies. Indian Coast Guard as the nodal agency for search and rescue in the 4.6 million square kilometers of area near the coastlines of Indian Peninsula also participated.
Since the inception of the service and the ratification and empowerment of the Indian Coast Guard as a national coordinating agency for search and rescue with all 31 stakeholders, we have been rescued 10,000 lives out at sea since 1978.
Well, today is National Milk Day, the birth centenary of Dr. Verghese Kurian, better known as the Milkman of India. He had led Operation Flood that made India the largest milk producer of the world, apart from supporting dairy farmers and cooperatives in a big way. The Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying is celebrating the occasion at an event at Anand today, along with the National Dairy Development Board and other institutions created by Dr. Kurian. During the ceremony, Union Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairying Purushottam Rupala will confer the National Gopal Ratna Awards to the best dairy farmers, cooperative societies and farmer producer organizations. The minister will also launch IVF lab in Dham Road in Gujarat and Hesarghatta in Karnataka as also the Startup Grand Challenge 2.0. Minister of State Dr. L. Murugan and Sanjeev Kumar Balyan will also be part of the event. The event marks the culmination of the iconic week, the week-long celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav by the department.
And from one good news to the other, India has been elected to the World Heritage Committee of the UN's cultural organization for a 4-year term, a week after the country was re-elected to the UNESCO Executive Board. Minister of State for External Affairs Meenakshi Lekhi said in a tweet that India has won the seat on World Heritage Committee with 142 votes for a 4-year term from 2021 to 25 from the Asia-Pacific region. She thanked all supporters for leading India to this historic win. The committee is responsible for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention, defines the use of the World Heritage Fund, and allocates financial assistance upon requests from states parties. It has the final say on whether a property is inscribed on the World Heritage List. Last week, remember, India won re-election to the Executive Board of the UN Cultural Organization for the 2021-25 term with 164 votes.
Well, today marks 13 years since the 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai. 13 years ago, on the evening of November 26, 2008, a group of 10 Pakistan-trained terrorists landed near a colony of fisherfolk at Kaf Parade on Mumbai's southern coast. Armed with automatic machine guns and grenades, they attacked with military precision multiple carefully selected buildings in South Mumbai. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar tweeted, "Never forget." along with the image of the attack. The country remembers the bravery of security personnel led by NSG commandos who had countered the attack and killed the terrorist responsible.
All right, after that, let's move on to our next segment where we bring you news from across the globe. Well, let's now take a look at the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. The world registered a dramatic spike in the number of COVID-19 cases. Global COVID-19 cases have crossed 26 crore 2 lakh, while the number of recoveries stands above 23 crore 52 lakh. So far, over 51 lakh 98,000 people have lost their lives to the disease. United States, meanwhile, continues to remain the worst affected with COVID-19. The country has registered more than 4 crore 89 lakh cases and 7 lakh 98,000 fatalities from COVID-19. Meanwhile, the European countries have again been witnessing a boom in COVID-19 cases, with UK registering the highest number of cases in the continent. The country has more than 1 crore 21,000 cases of COVID-19, followed by France, that has registered over 75 lakh 16,000 cases so far. Germany, meanwhile, where EU has approved Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine for children, has COVID-19 cases standing above 56 lakh 23,000. Italy has also been witnessing a spike in the number of cases, with the data rising above 49 lakh 68,000.
Meanwhile, United Kingdom registered the staggering spike in the number of COVID-19 cases, becoming the Europe's worst hit country from the pandemic. UK has decided temporarily to suspend flights from 6 South African countries after South Africa detected a new COVID-19 variant with a large number of mutations. These countries include South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Lesotho and Eswatini. Furthermore, Britons returning from these countries would have to undergo a mandatory quarantine period. UK's Health Secretary Sajid Javid said that the new variant, which South Africa attributed to the surge in cases and had also been detected in travellers from the country in Botswana and Hong Kong, had not been found so far in Britain. The country has more than 1 crore 21,000 cases of COVID-19, with fatalities now crossing 1 lakh 44,000.
Is from midday tomorrow, we will be suspending all flights from 6 Southern African countries, and we will adding those countries to the travel red list. Those countries are South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini and Zimbabwe and Botswana. And we will be requiring anyone that arrives from those countries from 4 a.m. on Sunday to quarantine in hotels. If anyone arrives before then, they should self-isolate at home and take a PCR test on day 2 and day 8. And if anyone has arrived from any of those countries over the last 10 days, we would ask them to take PCR tests.
So that was Britain's Health Secretary Sajid Javid saying that they will be doing this from midday tomorrow, and they will be suspending all flights from 6 Southern African countries, and that they will be adding those countries to the travel red list. All right, moving on, the European Commission in fact has proposed to mandate booster jabs of COVID-19 vaccine for EU residents if they want to travel to another country in the bloc. Now, this was about the European Commission, that it wants to harmonize rules across the 27 EU nations to allow free movement, a cornerstone of the European Union, but is facing new restrictions as cases break records in Europe and many EU countries roll out booster doses. The proposal came as the continent witnessed sharp rise in the number of COVID-19 cases. EU coordination on COVID passes, which show if a holder is fully vaccinated or has had a recent negative test or recovery from infection, has allowed an easing of curbs on cross-border travel. The passes, typically viewed on mobile devices, are issued by individual countries, but are recognized across the bloc. They are now increasingly being deployed in many EU countries for access to indoor areas such as restaurants or theatres.
Well, as Europe's COVID-19 cases become large, the EU's drug regulator has approved the use of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in children in the age group of 5 to 11 years. The decision has paved the way for providing first dose of COVID-19 vaccine to children of the age group. The EU joins a growing number of countries, including the United States, Canada, Israel, China and Saudi Arabia, which have cleared vaccines for children in the 5 to age group and younger. Earlier, the EU had given green signal to the use of the vaccines for teenagers.
Czech President Milo Zeman has been taken back to the hospital on Thursday after he tested positive for coronavirus. The president's office informed about his health just hours after his release, following more than 6 weeks of treatment for an unrelated condition. Now, the president was previously admitted to the hospital on 10th of October with complications due to a chronic illness that his office never specified, but which doctors said was a liver condition.
Meanwhile, the Czech government has ordered clubs to close at 10 p.m. and banned Christmas markets for 30 days in an attempt to curb the spiraling up of COVID-19 cases. Health Minister Adam Wojtek said that restrictions were targeted at places with high concentrations of people, which he said the government viewed as the highest risk. Earlier on Thursday, patients arrived at Prague from Braun, the country's second largest city. The Czech Republic had vaccinated 58.5% of its total population. The country has over 20,62,000 cases of COVID-19, with the death toll now hitting 32,500.
Meanwhile, Germany's death toll from COVID-19 has hit the grim milestone of 1 lakh. Germany's outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel informed that the hospitals in the eastern and southern parts of the country have been overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients. The country has also seen a rise in the number of people seeking the COVID-19 vaccine, with 7,95,386 people getting a shot on Wednesday alone. The country has more than 56,23,000 cases of COVID-19 with fatalities so far.
Well, on to some other international updates. A gas leak in a Siberian coal mine killed at least 52 people on Thursday, including 6 rescuers who were sent down to try and bring out dozens of men. This incident is termed one of Russia's worst mining disasters in Soviet times. The Regional Investigative Committee said 3 people, including the director of the mine and his deputy, have been arrested on suspicion of violating industrial safety rules. Miners had suffocated when a ventilation shaft became filled with gas. Prosecutors believe there has been a methane explosion. The dead comprised 11 people in the mine already confirmed killed, 35 who have been reported missing, and 6 rescue workers. Dozens of people were treated in hospital, at least some of them for smoke inhalation. 4 are in critical condition. The Emergencies Ministry said that some 285 people were inside the mine when smoke spread through the ventilation shaft. 239 have made it to the surface. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin said he had spoken with the governor and emergency officials, and that Kremlin had ordered the Emergencies Ministry to fly to the region to help. Kemerovo declared 3 days of mourning. In 2007, the region was the site of the worst mining accident since the collapse of the Soviet Union, when an explosion at a mine claimed the lives of more than 100 people. In 2020, explosions at the region's Raspatskaya mine had killed more than 90 people.
Moving on, as the date for the closing ceremony draws near, all eyes are on who would be the winner of the Golden Peacock. As eminent juries compare notes on the various films and competition, crowds continue to throng the venues at the International Film Festival of India to watch the many films that are being screened. One of the films being screened is Kozangal. India's official entry into the Oscars. Today, the director will be meeting with the press, whereas prominent members of the film fraternity continue to make appearances. Yesterday, it was Nusrat Bharucha of the OTT series Chori. Today, Raveena Tandon is also expected at the festival. Master classes, meanwhile, also will continue today. Rukma, my colleague who is in Goa covering the International Film Festival of India for us, joins us now. Rukma, good morning. The date is coming closer. The ceremony is going to close, but really a lot of excitement at the International Film Festival of India. Not just Hindi movies, but films from across India are being screened there.
Right, lots of movies being screened, and it's interesting how this is a total transformation from what we saw in January during the previous International Film Festival of India. We have the directors and actors, in some case the writers as well, the entire cast and crew, not just from across India but from across the world, coming here in person to make an appearance. Well, when we talk about the films that are going to be shown today, it's a spillover from yesterday. Among the films there, one of them is in competition, that's Any Day Now, a Finnish film about an Iranian immigrant family and the kind of problems that they face, the kind of despair as they wait for a visa. We spoke to the writer yesterday, and also another film is The Son of That Moon, another Iranian film, and besides various other films. Interesting today, as you just said in your report, Raveena Tandon is coming, and she is coming for a master class, for an in-conversation session rather, on the making of Aranyak. It will be a panel discussion. She will be present. There'll be Monica Shergill, Siddharth Roy Kapoor, and various other big names besides. Also, another master class that is attracting a lot of attention is Sabrata Shoots for Satyajit Ray. And one segment of this film festival that people are really loving is the tribute that's being paid to Sean Connery in films of James Bond that are being screened. Right, Anil?
Okay, thank you and appreciate. There is paucity of time. We could have discussed this further, but there's paucity of time. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, giving us an insight into what to expect from IFFI this Friday morning.
And as much as it's getting chillier in the national capital here, we are really envious of Rukma because she's there in Goa attending that very interesting film festival.
Also enjoying the good weather there.
Absolutely.
Well, let's now come back to the top story there on the Constitution Day. Prime Minister Modi has extended best wishes to the citizens of India on the Constitution Day. On this special day, he shared a part of Dr. Ambedkar's speech in the Constituent Assembly on the 4th of November 1948, in which he moved a motion for adoption of the draft constitution as settled by the drafting committee.
Well, that was Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tweet where he's wishing everybody on Constitution Day, and at 11 o'clock he's going to be joining the celebrations in the Central Hall of the Parliament, and along with President Ramnath Kovind, he's going to be leading the nation to the celebrations of the Constitution Day. And after that, let's move on to our next segment, Web News Review.
Well, I've got my colleague Vishal standing by. Good morning, Vishal. Over to you.
Well, a very good morning to you, Anil and Shreya. And yes, the pandemic is not yet over and we cannot let our guard down. And this is what the newspapers have deliberated upon. To start off with the first headline, I read from Times of India, and it says, new COVID variant puts India on alert. Government calls for strict screening for travelers from 3 nations. You have already informed our viewers on that, but I would deliberate more on that. And it informs about the B1.1529 variant reported in Botswana, South Africa and Hong Kong. So the government has asked for rigorous screening and testing of all international travelers coming and transiting from these countries. The second one is from the Hindustan Times, and it also speaks about the pandemic. UK suspends its flights to 6 African countries as new COVID variant emerges. Now that is a bad news. Reports of new variant with 30 mutations spreading in South Africa. The third one is again COVID news from Indian Express, and it talks about new in Haryana, free helmets, dinner sets, doses in fields. How new is pushing up vaccination. New is amongst 48 lowest performing districts. The other one is from the Times of India. As farmers dig in on MSP, government experts point out cons, and it says legalizing MSP to procure 23 crops would disrupt market equilibrium, drive out private trade, and lead to inflation and decline in agricultural exports. And the last one is of your interest, Anil, and it is from Indian Express, and it talks about celebrations for Maradona. Argentina celebrates Maradona 1 year after his death, as his youngest son, 8-year-old Diego Fernando, visits his father in a private cemetery. So that's all we have from the web news.
All right, Vishal, thanks very much for joining us with all the updates from the online world. And now let's move on to our next segment, the sports track.
Well, Vice Captain Sanjay scored a second consecutive hat-trick, while Arijit Singh Hundal too found the net thrice as defending champions India bounced back strongly to demolish Canada 13-1 in the second pool match of the Men's Junior Hockey World Cup being played in Bhubaneswar. Earlier in the first match, India had lost to France. India would now play Poland in the final game on Super Saturday.
And Indian shuttler B. Sai Praneeth has sailed into the quarterfinals of the ongoing Indonesia Open. Praneeth defeated France's Christo Popov 21-17, 14-21, 21-19 in a match that lasted 83 minutes on court 2. The Indian shuttler won the first game. However, the French opponent staged a remarkable comeback in the second, but again went down in the third. The men's doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankiran Reddy and Chirag Shetty also entered the quarterfinals after defeating South Korea's Kang Min-yuk and Seo Seung-jae 21-15, 19-21, 23-21.
Earlier, two-time Olympic medalist and star Indian shuttler PV Sindhu also sailed into the quarterfinals after defeating German badminton player Yone Lee 21-12, 21-18 in 37 minutes to clinch her place in the last 8.
Cricket news, debutant Shreyas Iyer remained unbeaten on 75 while Ravindra Jadeja scored his 17th test half-century as India ended day 1 at 258 for 4 against New Zealand in Kanpur. The duo added 102 runs in the final session without losing a wicket as India steered towards recovery after a shaky start to the innings. After opting to bat, India found themselves in trouble after Mayank Agarwal was caught fishing by Tom Blundell. Kari Jameson drew the first blood in the 7th over of Indian innings. However, Cheteshwar Pujara and Shubman Gill took India out of the initial trouble, with both steering the side to 82 for 1 at lunch. Gill eventually reached his half-century but was dismissed immediately after the play began in the second session. Jameson struck for the Kiwis again, castling Gill to inflict a second blow for India. Iyer and Jadeja ensured that India do not lose any more wickets before the close of play on day 1.
Well, let's now take a look at the weather forecast for the day.
Alright, the cyclonic circulation over southwest Bay of Bengal off South Sri Lanka coast extending up to 3.1 kilometer above mean sea level persists. The Met subdivision, there was a gradual fall in minimum temperature by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, which is very likely over many parts of East India during the next 3 days, and no significant change thereafter, and a gradual rise by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius over most parts of northwest India during the next 5 days. There is also a shallow to moderate fog which is expected in isolated pockets over the sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim region during the next 48 hours and over Odisha in the next 24 hours. Let's quickly take a look at the temperatures across the country now.
Well, there are 35 days left to the new year, and let's make these 35 days count by being careful, especially in that fight against COVID-19. Do not drop your guard. Do not think it's a trade-off that one can do. If you've got yourself vaccinated, you will drop the guard. Please don't do that. Remember, we've showed you stories about how Europe is facing the brunt with regards to a new mutation that's cropped up and troubling the whole of Europe. Nothing at this point of time in India, but let's all be cautious. Let's follow the 3 simple steps of SMS, sanitizing yourself, masking yourself, social distancing at all times. Please follow that. And if you have not got yourself a jab, please go ahead and get one, because if you do one, you will do not only yourself a good, but also the society at large a big favor. And if you do that, remember, we all stand a better chance to see a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up, every day we get you interesting visuals. Today, what do we have for you? Well, spectators lined up the streets of Manhattan on Thursday for the 95th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Before we end breakfast show today, we will leave you with these visuals of New York's event that has become an archetype of the holiday tradition. Well, in fact, since it is Thanksgiving, let's thank all the members of the Constituent Assembly who drafted the Indian Constitution. Take a look at those visuals. Thanks for joining us right now. Bye-bye. Namaskar.
Take care. Goodbye.